with that you're saying the experimental Walmart thing.
Experimental Walmart.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically, what it was. But first, before we do that, I wanted to. One of the guys out there on the YouTube live broadcast, over
Yeah.
in the chat, Frankie CNC and Woodworking Channel.
Hmm.
Um, he said he took a nap a little while ago, woke up and saw our ad and thought, "Holy hell, did I sleep for 2 days?" And I'm over there trying to convince him, yes, he did.
Yeah.
You know, because this is kind of a special edition, not quite a special edition. This is us catching up our schedule. We did the Halloween special and then promptly forgot that that meant that we don't have a podcast for Tuesday.
Oh, I know. You didn't forget. I totally, I totally, yeah, we could do it today and this and that, and but by doing it that way and putting out the special of Halloween, we
Uh-huh.
end up missing our regularly scheduled one. So
Yeah. So it's like, oh, damn, now we got to do one. So here we are. Did you miss us? I mean, people are going to be trampled underfooted to death, seriously trampled underfoot this week because we had regular Tuesday, then we did the Halloween. Now we're doing tonight, and then the podcast comes Tuesday and we record on Tuesday. So that's five in the span of a week. So dang.
yeah. But Mark and I, we were
But that's
talking about the. Oh, go ahead. You were going to say something?
yeah, I was going to talk about the experimental Walmart. I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody has seen this or not, but I saw this ad, and it may be old news. Maybe everybody's like, "Shh, Mark, where you been?" I see where Walmart is experimenting with it. It kind of looks like a standard Walmart store. It's big,
Hmm.
but there's only one like little uh, small customer service counter there. So you don't actually go into the store. You order everything online. They pull your order, and then you just go down and pick it up. They give you this is what we had, this is what we were out of, so we didn't have this to sell, and then you pay for it right there and off you go. And
Yeah.
I don't know what I think of that. I mean, part of me says, okay, cool, but another part of me says, are we are we that opposed to human interaction these days, man?
I am.
Yeah, really.
Oh, yeah. I am. I'm not going to sit here and lie. You know what? I am not going to sit here and lie. I totally am. I am so much. Yes. I like the people that I choose to interact with. And that might
Uh-huh.
be selfish,
Uh-huh.
but that's the case. I like the people that I choose to interact with.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
well, go ahead because
I
it's a
hear
big.
some people, this whole thing started with me. I started noticing it when they started doing the self checkout,
Hmm.
and some people like it. Some people absolutely despise it,
Hmm.
you know, and they just refuse to go to self checkout because, well, you're putting the cashier out of work. And I'm like, well, okay, that may or may not be, but because chances are they're going to be working somewhere else in the store. But I can see I
Yeah.
can see the point. But then
Yeah.
that just makes me think, really, but do you have a problem using automated teller machines, the cash machines? I mean, when was
Yes.
the last time you went into a bank, filled out a withdrawal slip, and got money from the bank teller to
Hmm.
have cash? You didn't mind putting them out of a job. You'd rather hit the ATM machine. Of course, now we also have point of sale, so you don't even bother with the bank anymore. I know folks who have been into the banks one time, and that was to start the account. Got their card, everything works. They got their PIN number, all that's good. They've never been back.
I think we should, I mean, all industries should shut down except for we should all be in the YouTube industry,
Uh-huh.
producing videos, and that's it. Not even would all the lumberyard, everything, just the whole world should shut down. Should just be the YouTube conglomerate,
Yeah.
with some sort of like royal, all
Mhm.
encompassing what is it called? a person with total freedom, sovereign,
Yes.
sitting there clutching some sort of orb, like
Sovereign YouTube citizens.
yeah. And there should be one head guy with an orb with a little cross on it, and like gilded and whatnot, and with like purple, and he should sit there and command he or she.
Mhm.
Or in tandem, they might marry from two parts of the different world, and they rule together with an orb sitting there like that, and then just a huge hallway, or just
Mhm.
cathedral with nothing but servers.
Well, I think you just described YouTube's headquarters. Katie Dotson over here in the chat says Kroger will bring your groceries to your house. Now, I've heard of that. There's a few places out there that will do that. We don't have anything local like that that'll do it for you. But yeah, that's great for handicapped folks, and I do see that. But I don't know if you remember, this was back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Must have been the late 90s because we were living in Nevada, and we didn't get back to Nevada until 98. So this guy, I mean, it was a big story. This guy spent a year of his life. He didn't do anything. He didn't leave his house for a year. He did everything online. He worked from home. His job was he was a writer for something, but he
Yeah.
did everything online. He ordered meals. He ordered groceries. He had his laundry done, uh, everything. And it was a major news story trying to show folks how the technology had progressed and you could do all this stuff online.
I
Now it's
admire the
like now it's like every day. I mean, we know entire towns that do that. It's nothing special anymore.
But here's the thing, though. Honestly, so look, back in the day, we're talking like but back in the day, you had no choice but to.
Yeah.
And now with the option, think about, do I put on my shoes or do I keep my flip flops on? Do I? Unless you absolutely, it's sort of, in fact, talking about Walmart, isn't that a way to avoid going to the hardware store, grocery store, like clothing store, shoe store, all in one? It's all been leading up to this, man. Like, plug us into the matrix and like frickin' go.
Well, that's true to a certain point. But then again, I've watched women try to pick out a tomato, and I know that online thing ain't never going to work. Not for some things. Some things you want to be there, you want to see what you're getting. When it comes to like meat and dairy and produce and what have you, folks want to pick out their own.
But
And, forget about ordering clothes online. That's something I still won't do.
I mean, shirts.
Well, t-shirts, that's about it. But, even something as simple and stupid as socks, I go to the store and I get stuff like that because that brings me to my other point. I want it now. When I decide I need something, I don't want to wait on the on UPS or somebody like that. I want to get it now. So if I need a router bit, I head down to, one of the big boxes or the tool supply shop we have here in town, and I get it now. So I have to wait on it unless I absolutely can't get it now. If I can't get it locally, then I have to buy it online. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah,
But
there's a lot of YouTube, or I don't want to say a lot of, but there's a good amount of YouTube channels
mhm.
that, and by the way, for people listening to this, if they're listening to this in the year 2099, which is quite possible, YouTube was like a big thing during
Yeah.
this time. Just letting those people know in the
Yeah.
future. Because chances are, so there's some YouTube channels that have like the theme is visiting sort of like the dilapidated, rundown things of yesteryear, such as malls.
Yeah.
We have a lot of malls, obviously, that are totally active and all that, but some of these malls just kind of like fell into the you
Yeah.
know.
Fell into disrepair and just got neglected. People left for some other kind of mall or something. Yeah.
I think, and you should see these videos because it's like they walk in with the camera and like all these things that we used to, if it's like the little arcades that were
Uh-huh.
inside of the movie theater, just complete, just plants growing, the paint stripping,
Yeah.
things from the 80s that are sitting there just all over the place, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
Um, this is the future of the things that we think that are concrete now that we
Mhm.
go to. I believe at one point it's going to be all in a cubicle. You're going to live in a cubicle, and your chair is going to retract. Like I wish to go to sleep now. The chair will retract back so that you're in a flat sort of position, and you're in a cubicle, and that's it. You're done. Everything can be accessed, and little robots will fly in, kind of like the Jetsons. That's where we're going. As crazy as it sounds, I think that's where we're going.
I think there's going to be one exception to that. I don't think we're going to be living in cubicles. I think with the way things are going, I mean, if you get on YouTube and you look, the way things are going, it's going to be nothing but wall to wall tiny homes. Because everybody and their brother is buying a tiny, and that's another one that kind of bugs me. It's just,
Yeah.
to me, all right, fine. The concept is great, but it's the pretentiousness that goes along with it. You know what? We had tiny homes in my day too. They were called travel trailers. All right. You want to experience life in a tiny home, save your money, get on Craigslist. You can find you a little travel trailer for $1,000 that'll probably get to your driveway, and then that's about it. Live in that for a few months.
Well,
you know
yeah. I mean,
you'll get sick of that tiny home concept real fast.
as far as a concept, it's awesome and
Mhm.
it looks cool, right? But it's sort of like, I don't know. I like the concept, but when you have to have space, you need space to move around. You need
Mhm.
that space, that breathing room. It's just not practical. I mean, it might sound cool in Europe,
Mhm.
but we're used to great wide open spaces. I mean, I'm
Right.
not trying to, but the whole idea is, we want space, and this whole going back into like a more, I don't know, amoeba like situation. I
Yeah.
don't know, dude. I like the idea because it's cool, this and that, but forget
Yeah.
it. I
it,
need
it
space.
it's cool for a little while, but I mean, the novelty would wear off real fast as far as I'm concerned. I mean, because I've lived in a tent. There's a reason I don't live in a tent. I don't have to. I don't live in a tiny home because I don't have to. All right. And it's like, I don't have a huge house. Believe me, it's 1,500 square foot. It's not huge, but that's why I've got stuff piled all over the place, because I got more stuff than I got places. And we are downsizing. Believe me, we are getting rid of stuff faster than we can get rid of, or as fast as we can get rid of it. But gosh, it's just crazy. I mean, Billy Burt's over there going, my shop is bigger than any tiny house I've seen. I've got just the opposite problem. Most tiny houses are bigger than my shop. So, you know, but that's my problem.
Well, there's
But
also the issue with so not everybody,
mhm.
because of the generational scenario of,
Right.
not everybody is sort of like agile with the technology, and they're
Right.
kind of like left, behind. They're still in the world before,
Right.
you know. And I have a lot of those people all around me.
Yeah.
Um and they just as easily could be in the new technology world,
Right.
which frankly at this point I kind of take for granted in many ways.
Right. And that's normal, I think, and I think we all do it. But it, I mean, to a point, because I remember when color TV was new and exciting, and we thought that that was about as good as you were going to get, and stereo instead of mono, that was about as good as you're going to get. So right now we're in that stage where the internet is the coolest thing out here. But what's next? We don't know what's coming around the next corner. We're over here talking about people in the year 2095 talking about YouTube was this. Well, maybe we should be saying the internet was this because Lord knows where it's going to go. I mean, what is the next best thing? You know, just satellite, just strictly satellite, and
Satellite,
forget the online stuff.
satellite. Maybe they'll invent some sort of like attachment that's very
Well,
streamlined, and it connects you into this be
that's what I'm talking about.
and like you can like I can say I can even tell like mentally I say give Mark a call, blah blah blah, and then
Uh-huh.
busy sign if you're out working or something like here's Mark, and then bloop you pop up and there's like some sort of and you can
Well,
see
they've been talking about implanting chips since the 70s in people,
yeah
and I don't think we're to that point. I really don't, because there's a lot of people that have a problem with that, a moral problem with that. It is a moral dilemma, you know.
mhm.
But then again, as time goes on, you're going to find fewer and fewer people will have reservations about implanting a device into somebody. So I think we're still going to have devices. It's still going to be maybe worn or maybe handheld. But yeah, I can see where you're going. We're going to go beyond speech recognition and eventually, like Stephen Hawking, control things with eye movement or what have you. So we can sit in a room where with other people around us and still control this device without disturbing somebody else.
Hell, for all we know, we're brains sitting in a vat in some sort of huge warehouse and
Mhm.
we're saying all this but we're actually physically in some actual warehouse just floating in a brain your brain like 5,800 and something down the line over there, maybe Billy Burt's all the way over there, Katie and
Yeah,
and we're communicating and we think we're moving around. Hey, I'm going to Walmart. Yeah, right,
mhm.
buddy, you're a brain in a tube in a
Yeah.
vat of like ooze.
Space jelly. Yeah. Okay. So that's the new conspiracy theory. Then we're all just a part of the Matrix.
You know what's funny though?
What's that?
That and it's not to say, but Elon Musk says
Mhm.
that, and he's been asked this question in the past, and he says that in all in all probability, looking at everything, that we are living in a simulation. That we are living in a simulation.
Yeah, but he also said that his full name was elongated muskrat. So
Yeah,
you
but
know.
he wasn't doing that. Not in the context of that, because remember he does rocket ships and this and that.
Yeah, I
So
do. Well,
it was in
no,
the
no,
context of a conversation of like an actual
no.
conversation.
No, I beg to differ. Now, I'm not going to say that Elon Musk is not a smart man. He's an incredibly intelligent man. But we have to give credit where credit is due. Elon Musk has never built a single rocket ship. His teams have.
Yeah,
You
he's just
know,
a financial guy.
he's the financial and the idea guy. It's kind of
Yeah.
like Steve Jobs. I have a different attitude towards those guys. Steve Jobs didn't make the iPhone. He said, I want something that does this, take care of it. And his brainiacs went away and they came up with it and he got all the credit. You didn't
Hmm.
see them standing up there when unveiling the new iPhone.
No.
You only saw him. Well, it's the same
Yeah.
with Elon Musk. I don't think he ever turned a wrench on one of the rocket ships. It's
Yeah.
not
He's
to
just the
say
guy
he's
that.
right. It's not to say that he's stupid. I don't think he is. He's an idea guy. You don't get to where he is by being stupid.
Well, I just gave him
Uh,
as an example, but
yeah, but
as
you're right. Yeah, he's
as you know that
mhm.
dropping Elon Musk
Uh-huh.
altogether, there is a whole host of people that
Uh-huh.
you know that think this up in
Mhm.
the what do you call these people, the not what's the word for these people that study is it physicists and abstract, what is it called, parallel universe, all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
I forget.
astrophysicists.
Yeah, all those people, yeah.
Yeah.
They delve into all these different and I mean, heck, who knows?
Yeah. No, who knows? I mean, Katie may be right. We may be all on our own shelves at Amazon, and just this is all a simulation. speaking of which, that's another thing that gets me about these people who don't like self checkout, because I don't work there. Or it takes away jobs. Oh, really? Did you think that when you made your Amazon order instead of going to the store downtown? You
Yeah.
know, it's so I like the selective moral indignation we do. I don't know. It's just kind of funny. I
Well,
mean, yeah,
also,
yeah. I'm not holier than now. I order stuff online. I try to get it here first if I can, because like I say, if I want something, I want it now. I
yeah.
don't want to wait for the UPS driver. But I don't try to attach anything other than what it actually is. I want to buy this. I can't find one here locally. Let me order it there. I'm not saying, well, that's taking away a job. Nah, I don't believe that.
No, I mean, probably it's taking a job, in as much as like cars took horse buggy
Yeah.
jobs away, but
Yeah.
it's inevitable. These are things that, you know what I'm
Mm.
saying. You could, I mean,
Well,
if we could go back,
oh
everybody
yeah.
that's watching, everybody that's listening, if we could go back prior to the internet to avoid all these horrible things, which I don't
Mhm.
know what's, because I mean the world is at your fingertips,
Yeah.
knowledge, everything.
Yep.
Would you
Or
go back to an more innocent time? I mean, it sounds good, but at the same time,
yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of talk about that. We should return to the 50s. No, we shouldn't. No, we shouldn't. We've accomplished too much and we've come so far since the 50s. I think we do need maybe some of the attitudes of the 50s might be a good thing, but we don't want to go back to the 50s. So, but yeah, it's just I don't know. What bothers me about the whole thing is the pretentiousness of certain situations and the selective moral outrage of others. Man, it's just life. Take advantage of what you got, and be a little bit grateful for it. But you know, I I'm I'm not as tech savvy as I used to be. And I still do some things. I mean, it's weird for me to think that in my lifetime, owning a computer is now considered old school. You know, but it is. And it's still fairly new concept to me owning a computer, because I can remember when only multinational corporations had computers and universities, and they were so far out of the price range that nobody even dreamed that they would own one. And now we're shunning them. It's
I
just
don't
like
know.
I don't want no computer. I got my
Oh,
smartphone. I can do
yeah.
everything on my smartphone. Well,
It's got its drawbacks,
mm,
man. I
it sure
mean,
does.
it's too small. The screen is
Hmm.
is uncomfortable. I like a station that I could sit at. This is
Hmm.
probably going to be thought of in the future as barbaric. Look at
Oh
those
yeah.
look at those animals back then in the year 2019. Can you believe
Hmm.
those savages?
Yeah.
Um, they actually had this thing that they called a mouse. Look at that. How what are they?
Yeah.
Cats at playing cats and chasing mice,
Yeah.
and they had to navigate through that as opposed to using their psychic powers.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. Iris control, just look at a
yeah,
screen. Touch a screen? No, just look with your eyes. And when you focus on this, you know, or use the Echo Dot that you have plugged in
yeah,
through Amazon and say, computer, do this for me, or whatever your wake up phrase happens to be.
yeah.
So,
We've caught
you
up
know,
to Star Trek, a lot of the Star Trek stuff,
oh yeah,
a
we
good
have.
a good amount.
We have. And
So
it's still kind of funny to me, because I remember I was talking with my wife about this the other day in the car. We were heading somewhere and I don't remember what it was. We were talking about how some people have their Echo Dot set up to where instead of saying the standard stock wake up phrase or wake up word that you use to get its attention,
mhm.
they have switched it over to computer like on Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
And let's see, does anybody in the chat have that going on right now? Computer, play Common People by William Shatner. Let's see if anybody in the chat says that their Echo just woke up and started playing it. I love to do that to people because Common People by William Shatner is lame and amazing at the same time. It's got to be one of the stupidest things ever recorded, but it's funny. I,
Spock had some good ones too.
yeah. And,
Bilbo Baggins, was it?
oh yes. Oh, you've heard that one.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Bilbo.
Yes, I do remember that. Oh my God. I thought I was the only one. Who convinced Nimoy that he could sing?
It's so weird, the video. If you guys haven't seen um Leonard Nimoy singing Bilbo Baggins something or other, and
Yeah.
the actual video, and like the dancers, and
Yeah.
it's like a '60s homage to Tolkien,
Yeah.
and all that. It's fantastically
Oh my
cringeworthy.
God. It is. It's incredibly cringeworthy. All you have to do is look for Leonard Nimoy. Was it yeah, The Hobbit
No.
on YouTube. It's lame and amazing at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, some things are just there's that duality. Some things are just,
It is. It was absolutely awful. And I still want to know who told him he could sing. Because it just, oh man. Now, how the heck did we get over here? We've been on for not quite a half an hour, and we have gone in circle after circle after circle after circle.
well, we haven't even touched on the actual subject that we had in mind.
No, but it does kind of segue into this though, talking
Yeah,
about the technology and this
everything
and that. Yeah,
connects, man. Everything connects.
it's all in the matrix.
Yeah.
I'm going to plug another podcast. On Sundays, there's a podcast called Makers International, and it's some
Yes.
friends of ours, some in the UK, some in the US, and they get together, and it's all maker related. You have woodworkers and metal workers and folks who work with stone or blacksmiths or things like that, and they just get on and they talk about various subjects that interest folks who make things as a hobby or as a business, internationally, all over the world. They've had guests from all over, and they kind of got into a topic. The guest was Andy Berkey, who is a phenomenal craftsman, by the way. He brought up, and pardon me, I really don't remember who he was talking about, the name of the gentleman who did this video. He basically interviewed his grandfather, and his grandfather's in his 80s. And he was talking about how his life's passion was old tractors. And we're talking about tractors from back in the 1800s, some of the old steam tractors on up to, current modern day tractors. And the subject got around to talking to some of these elderly folks about their knowledge, because as these people pass away, they take a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and a lot of expertise with them. And somehow I'm 50, soon to be 59. So I'm almost the old man in my family now. All my grandparents are gone. My parents are gone. So I've got one uncle who's older than me, and then I'm the oldest male in the family. And he's in his 70s. So it's scary for me to think that suddenly at the age of 59, I could very well become the
The
old man of the
Patriot.
family. Yeah. When I think of all the knowledge and all the skill and expertise my parents and my grandparents took with them, and I never had a chance to sit down and talk to them about a number of things. I mean, my grandfather taught me not quite, but almost everything I know about woodworking. So I was able to draw on years of that experience. But it brought up the subject of just some of these old stories and some of these people that are around all of us who know so much that maybe we need to stop and make a special day and just sit down and talk to these people and learn from them and be willing to listen, And that kind of got me thinking of, was your dad that kind of a person? Was he handy? Did he make things? Did he do things? Did he teach you, or your grandfather, or anything like that?
Yeah, my dad did all sorts of handy work, around everything around the house, from
Hmm.
plumbing to like everything. And he was an electrician,
Hmm.
and so he did all that kind of stuff. But and so did he teach me? Yeah, he would force me to go and do things. All right, son, you got to do this, you got to do that, and stuff. And I do it, but I wasn't interested in doing that. I was interested in the comic books and my friends, and
Sure.
but I'd go and do that, and I would understand as a kid
Hmm.
that what he was doing. It's a weird thing. I have a certain type of perception where I'm stupid for a lot of things, but I'm aware of people,
Hmm.
and that's kind of, that's take that, tongue in cheek, kind of, because I totally lose the plot. Let me just say this. I think that wisdom thing and all that is twofold. Absolutely true. The knowledge we can gather from others,
Hmm.
especially those that have, and absolute bogus.
Hmm.
And here's why.
Okay.
I was born, I began perceiving as I was a kid and growing up, and then I've arrived at where I'm at now.
Hmm.
And I've gathered all this information from my particular vantage point,
Hmm.
and stuff. Everything that I've learned doesn't necessarily come with the stamp of 100% true and applicable.
Right.
It comes with the stamp of my slanted view of my predictors of the past, predicting the future,
Hmm.
events from certain behavior. Like, all the things I've learned are with a caveat of it's through my lens, and the
Hmm.
same. And there are things we could share in common from other people, but
Sure.
basically, i I guess what I'm saying is that we're, no matter how the old patriarch guy,
Hmm.
and no matter how, that now you're the patriarch, let's say, or soon to, um it's kind of like we're repeating a cycle, and we know different things, and we have certain different perceptions and
Hmm.
knowledge, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like a cyclical thing, is what I'm trying to get at on
Yeah,
one side of it.
I can see that, and I can see exactly where you're coming from, because we're all tainted by our own prisms of our own surroundings, the environment we grew up in.
Yeah.
But I was referring more to the hands-on side of things.
Oh,
The guy who taught you how to change the oil in your car,
my
the
dad.
guy, yeah, the I'm talking about the wisdom and the ability to do things now. Like, there are people right now on YouTube who specialize in using nothing but hand tools. They own power tools, but if they're going to do something, they're going to make a special presentation box for something. They're going to use hand tools. They're going to plane down all the wood themselves, mark out and hand cut all the dovetail joints and do stuff like that. Well, somebody had to teach them things like that, you know? And when that is lost, when that's gone, when the person who knows how to do that is gone, that knowledge goes with them. Is what I was more referring to. I would like to learn how to make a split ash basket just for a couple of projects here. I think that split ash baskets would be perfect for a project I want to make for the house. I have no idea how to do it. So I'm also out on the West Coast, where we don't have a whole heck of a lot of ash trees anyway. So there
I've
isn't
got
oh, there aren't a whole heck of a lot of people out here that know how to do that.
I've got two answers for you.
Yeah, YouTube.
Amazon, YouTube, and Amazon.
And that's what it's coming down to, because you know I don't know, this is kind of segueing into something else, and I really I'd like to get back to the other, but there are a lot of people that don't understand the joy and the happiness in just making something, you know. uh, I made a couple of things and have posted them online in various places, not necessarily on YouTube. And invariably, if it's something small and simple, somebody will say, well, you can buy one of those down at Home Depot for $7. And I'm like, yeah, but then I wouldn't have had the fun of making it. You know,
Yeah.
some folks don't understand that there is some pleasure that comes from doing that. And yeah, I could jump on AliExpress or whatever you want to call it and order 1,000 split ash baskets for
Mhm.
a dime a piece. But
Mhm.
then, I'm relying on somebody else to do that,
Yeah.
and it's not so much instant gratification. It's just, I want the knowledge of how to do
Right.
that and the ability to say, yeah, I made those, you know.
Yeah. I mean, see,
So,
there's nothing we can do
uh-huh.
that hasn't been done already.
Oh, sure.
I mean, obviously, there's exceptions to the rules
Hmm.
on a micro level of different variants of you know the pet rock. Let's
Right.
say this pet rock has a little diagram on the back that shows my
Mhm.
whatever um astrological freaking zodiac whatever. But everything's been freaking done, dude. We're
True.
living in cycles upon cycles and cycles. It's
True.
it's so
But
weird, dude. It's weird.
I don't see anything wrong with it.
I'm not saying
For
wrong.
one,
I'm
it's a
saying
good cycle.
no, well, but okay. I'm saying,
Uh-huh.
right, that to me, it's all ridiculous. All of
Well, at the end of the day, yeah, but what's the alternative?
it. Well, I'm not even going to the alternative. I'm just saying, here we are. Now,
Uh-huh.
mind you, I say ridiculous, but there's still that mystery of, well, wait a second, what
Mhm.
if this is all some sort of test adventure and then there's a million things you could think of, and then we go back to the source and we can observe the things that who knows what the hell is going on. To me, um, at the end of the day, you're right. The alternative, it's good to be alive and kicking, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason, my mind and my body always is fighting for survival. I can tell every time I get hungry and I go to Taco Bell or Burger King.
Right.
It's say, hey, Burger King. I say, yeah. You know what, brain? You know what, stomach? You're right. I'm not gonna argue with my brain and my stomach. Why would I? They want me to,
No.
you know.
But then again, you can just, get online and order Taco Bell and have Grubhub go pick it up and stuff like that. So again, we're back to that. You don't even have to go do it yourself. But
Yeah.
it's I don't know. It's just weird to me that we seem to be hesitant to talk to older folks who may know something more than we do. We're I don't know if it's just we're so caught up in our lives, if we're just so busy that we don't think about doing it. But I don't know if I wanted to learn how to do something, or if I was unsure on how to do a setup, I no matter where I lived in the world, I knew I can call my grandfather, and ask him how he would go about doing it. You know, and just sitting around and talking and getting the stories. Some of the stories were just fun stories, you know talking about the time the old mare got out of the stall, and this, that, and the other, chasing her around the neighbor's pasture, trying to get her back to the house, things like that. Some of that stuff's pretty comical, and it's actually kind of fun. But then the hands-on stories and teaching you how to do something. We have a lot of arts that are just slowly falling by the wayside. But then again, we have a few interested folks who want to try to keep it alive. I mean, the there's a saddle shop down next town over, about maybe 5 miles down the road from me, 6 miles down the road from me. Uh, One of their most experienced leather workers. I mean, he makes some gorgeous saddles and just gorgeous stuff. never been on a horse in his life. He just likes the leather work, and he's always loved leather work. And he's in his 70s and still works every day. And he's back there hand tooling all this stuff and teaching the folks, the younger folks that he works with, how to do all this stuff. And he's the first one to say, I'm not going to be here forever. Y'all need to know how to do this if you want to keep this place running. But he's never been on a horse in his life. He just likes the leather work. Those are the kind of people that I dig talking to. So, at least in this area, that art is not dead. But there are so many other things out there, man, that it just kind of, I don't know. Maybe I just pined for the good old days of sitting out on the front porch talking with my grandfather about, life, the universe, and everything, with the occasional swinging of a hammer here and there.
Yeah, it's a warm experience in the memory of one's life at a time when it seemed like, our brain is not as full of, let's say, tragedies, letdowns, good times as well, just the whole spectrum of things at that age. And then we have the people around us that are our protectors, let's say, are people that guide us, that we have full trust in. And so it's a special, there's no other way but to agree, in my opinion. It's kind of like, what was it, Mayberry?
Yeah.
Where, they're walking down and taking it easy, and there's that warmth. I mean,
this area wasn't too far from that. I mean, we were as small town as you can get. I can remember just before I left to go into the Army, the city of Medford was all just over the moon because the population had hit 50,000 people. It's still only just 80,000. So it hasn't grown that much. And I'm talking about it hit 50,000 in 1981. So since 1981, it's only gained about 30,000 people. It's still not that big of a place. So there are a lot of things around here that still get done the old way because it's convenient and it still works. So, but, yeah, I don't know. That just kind of got me maybe a little bit nostalgic for the good old days, but then again, happy for what we got now, because there's a reason I'm not using an outhouse, and that's because I don't have to. So,
right.
I'll keep my conveniences, but
at the same time, here's how, I guess, just to throw a wrench into the works. If you didn't know anything other than an outhouse, either by self-convincing yourself or not even being able to realize it because there's no other option, you'd be just as fine from your perspective. Because in turn, wait till people 100 and 200 years from now look back at us and say, can you believe how savage those folks were? Not to mention people. So, it's kind of like.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of outhouses, in my lifetime, my great-grandfather, it was a family. It wasn't really a joke because it was 100% true. He refused to have an indoor bathroom. My great-grandfather did within my lifetime. Now, he died when I was 4 years old, but about 2 years before he passed away, my grandmother finally wore him down, and he closed in an area of their back porch, and he put a toilet in there and plumbed it in. But he was from seriously old school, saying, no, that belongs as far away from the house as you can get it without having to walk a mile in the snow. That has no business being in the house. That is supposed to be away from the house.
Well, how about under the bad little,
that I don't know about. I didn't, like I said, he passed away when I was 4. So, I really don't know that stuff.
Because everybody knows that they had emergency under the, the bed, because sometimes, I mean, what are you going to do? Just blow out blow out the hallway, the door on your
You
way out
know,
the
I mean,
back.
yeah, usually you kind of had to plan ahead. You know, you
Sorry,
felt the,
Ma.
well, it wasn't right there next to the bedroom, so you had to plan ahead. If you felt the slightest twinge, off you went with a Sears catalog and, a candle. But I mean, they had
Chamber
an
pot.
outhouse. I mean, they had an outhouse by choice up into my lifetime, because it's not like they couldn't put a septic out there on their ranch. They could have. They just didn't. They had the old outhouse, dug a pit, and put the outhouse over it. When that got up to a certain point, you filled that pit in and moved the outhouse.
If
You
you
know,
think about that, it's perfectly reasonable to boy, have I been using the right microphone? Let me make sure that I have. Oh well,
well,
heck, I haven't. I've been using the default microphone from the. Oh well, it's too late to change now.
I was fixing to say the direction this conversation went. Why improve audio now?
You should have told me.
Dude, I didn't pay attention. I didn't realize.
No, I was gonna say, boy, I forgot with the whole microphone. What were we saying about the outhouse thing?
I was talking about how my grandparents had one up until I was about 2 years old.
Well, I was gonna say
Great
something.
grandparents.
Dang, man, I had a good sort of comment slash whatever,
Okay.
but it's too. Oh, I was gonna say, could it be that your great grandfather or
Mhm.
grandfather?
Great grandfather, yeah.
Could it be that he was just because I mean they had the chamber pots. Katie had Dotson just said chamber. They had chamber pots, so it's not too
Sure.
far removed to say, hey, it's a room that's locked away. But at the same time, like you said, thinking about them people back then, to have that close to where folks
Yeah.
live, it's inconceivable. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It
you
was
know,
it was a compromise because he didn't want it in the house. She was tired of putting on shoes and getting a flashlight and every time she felt the urge. And they weren't young anymore. They were in their late 60s
yeah,
when he finally broke down. So they compromised. It wasn't in the house, but it was out on the back porch. He closed in an area of the back porch, no windows or nothing. So you didn't have to go that far anymore.
yeah,
So it was a compromise, but he still refused to have it in the house. And they're talking about the chamber pot and everything else. That was temporary because the next morning, that was one of the things you did. If you used it, you took it out to the outhouse and you dumped it. Now, like I said, I don't know if they had anything like that because I was only 2.
right,
So I just thought it was funny that if I had to go do my business, I had to go out on the back porch. I thought that was funny for some reason,
yeah.
you know, and I barely remember it because that was a few days ago. So, but
That's crazy though, dude. If you think about it, we've traveled so much as far as
mhm,
I guess amenities and
mhm,
all that.
right. And and that's what I mean. The reason we don't still do that is because we don't have to. So I'm warm and cozy. Maybe I can pine for a few things that were way back when. And sure, I miss the people. I mean, you're always gonna.
Yeah,
But it's also maybe just a little bit of a realization to me that you're right. We do go in cycles, and eventually every single one of us is going to be the old man or the old woman of the family.
right. But
So,
don't you see a little bit of I hate to say it, but irony or not irony? There's a word for it, but it's sort of like it almost feels like imagine a game, some sort of puzzle that has no apparent answer. And every time it repeats it's such a
yeah,
weird thing. And now don't get me wrong,
in
just
some regards, yeah.
I'm not trying to say, well, I'm just saying that I see this. I
Hmm.
can't ignore it myself
Right.
personally. I'm not the kind that will see something like that and say, oh wait, that area is kind of weird, and just run it to the side and say, okay, let's look, think happy and different thoughts.
Right.
No, I'm like, oh, that's weird. Let's look at that. I'm
Yeah.
totally for that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and that puts me in the situation of how
Well,
I am. But
a lot of people are that way, you know. Those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it, you know. And we've kind of set up a society where we think that everything that happened in the past has to be wrong. So we need to ignore all of it. And so we find ourselves making the same mistakes over and over again that we could have learned from if we'd have paid attention to some of it, you know. So you were right when you said back quite a ways back in the infancy of this discussion that we can't invent anything. It's already been done. We're
yeah, well,
just improving on it because you're absolutely right. You know, every time you hit your thumb with a hammer, you're just another in the long list. I mean, you're
yeah,
not the first one to have done it. So,
yeah. I mean, well, Steve mentioned earlier. I think he was being tongue in cheek and stuff. He says that. Well, tell me if not everything's been done because nobody's set foot on the moon or on the. Well, actually, Freudian slip.
yep.
Conspiracy theories abound.
Mhm.
That nobody's set foot on Mars, and right.
Yet,
I don't mean things like that. I'm saying that at arm's length, it's gonna take you an awful, difficult, lifelong journey unless you stumble upon the pet rock
yeah.
as your claim to find something that's totally unheard of, not been done. The concepts that we share are not so foreign that people won't kind of understand the gist of what nothing is
Well,
new.
even walking on Mars isn't new because we've already walked on the moon. It'll be cool when it happens, don't get me wrong. And they're working towards that. I mean, it's more than just going getting six guys together and say, let's go.
Yeah,
They're working towards it. But they have already walked on a extraterrestrial body. They've already walked on the moon. So we know it can be done. It's not going to be as big of an experiment as the 1950s and 60s technology we used to get us to the moon. I
yeah,
mean, it will be, trust me, it'll be a huge experiment, but we know it's feasible. It's possible to do. It's going to take them close to 5 years to get there, but they know that it is within reach.
yeah.
So, you know, what can you say? But well, I just only I don't know if they will, but I only hope that they do it in my lifetime because I'd like to see it.
See,
You
I'm
know,
I'm I'm more pro, and yes, I that's cool, but I'm more pro like Earth stuff. You know what I'm
well,
saying? I'm like,
me too. I'm not volunteering to go. Don't get me wrong. I want to watch it on TV or on YouTube safely from the comfort of my own house, so I can get up and go outside without a suit on. You know?
I like this. I kind of like this world.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the
You know,
atmosphere.
yeah, I was
You know,
fixing to say one of the benefits of it is you can survive on it. You know, it works.
yeah, I like the whole water to land ratio. I
Yeah,
don't I
it
don't
works
know,
for me
dude.
so far. Yeah.
It's
Having air that you can actually breathe is a benefit. You know,
yeah, dude. It's like totally the best, man. Why are we
so,
complaining anyhow?
I'm
Not that we
serious.
are.
Yeah, I'm
Let
serious.
let me throw at you a couple of quotes
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
that have to do with wisdom.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so and you can tell me if you know who these quotes
Oh,
are
we're gonna
from.
you're gonna use wisdom to test mine. Okay. All right. I'm steady. I'm strapped in. Let's go.
I'm not gonna use any of whatever wisdom I may or may not have. I'm gonna appropriate wisdom
Uh-huh.
and then throw it at you and see what you say.
Okay.
So the fool does think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool.
Oh my gosh, I don't know who said that. I don't know who said it, but I agree with it 100%.
You
And
agree with it?
I think that's one of those things that kind of got it has me I won't say nervous or worried or anything, but kind of freaks me out about being the old man of the family. When I would talk to my grandpa, it was with respect because I
Yeah.
knew that he knew more than me until I hit about 18 or 19 years old and I knew everything. I spent from the time I was like 19 years old all the way through to my early 30s thinking I knew everything. And I've spent from age 40 to now amazed at how much I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
See,
so
that's the thing, Mark,
mhm,
that in a way you can't be blamed because that was my trajectory and still my trajectory. Um, when you're young, you're
mhm,
absorbing, and then I get other influences from kids
mhm,
around me, and I'm off into the popular culture of the time, and then those folks that are guiding you, you still go to, but a little part of you or a large part of you is now learning how to socialize with your group of friends, and you're
mhm.
acquiring your tastes and this and that, and then you're a rebel,
Yeah.
and that whole phase doesn't finish well into you
Oh
could
yeah,
say,
early to mid 30s, early to
yeah,
mid 30s,
you could
and
easily
it
say,
well, I make a joke about it, but it's the truth. It's the stone cold truth. The very first time my daughters ever helped me work on a car, I called my father and apologized for all the times I helped him.
yeah,
Because it was the case underneath the truck, wrenching on something, set down a wrench, pick something else up, do something, reach for my wrench and roll over and look, and they got it out in the yard digging a hole with it or something like that. So I was starting to learn that I didn't know as much as I think I know. But
but
yeah, you're absolutely right. The wise man knows he's a fool.
now, so
So
it was Shakespeare that said
was it
that.
Shakespeare? Okay.
But now here's the
Well,
thing, and I know
1500.
that this is throwing into a different, well, it's totally within context, but
Mhm.
knowing what you went through and realizing your growth, um, and your rebellious years and that whole
Mhm.
cycle, and obviously, um, I can actually boldly speak for both of us and mostly everybody when I say that it's common sense within reason to say that all people go through this. Um, Generally speaking, where there's a rebellion, it's been studied anyhow. Where
Mhm.
a kid grows up, he becomes hormones and what. It's just the
Mhm.
whole process. Well, knowing this whole thing, I think school is structured like crap, to prepare a human being. And by the way, school can never catch up because by the time kids are out, technology and the markets and stuff have gone way past
Right.
what was being taught in But what I'm trying to get at is that they should teach, independence, to kids, from the get go, as opposed to,
And
um, like group, military style, for lack of a better, like we are part of a program. Kind of like Pink Floyd, The Wall. It's like they should teach
com-
more, but they
yeah,
don't.
it's community. It's all about community now. But there's no independence. You're right about that. I will agree with you there. But you know what? I can remember my father saying the same thing when I would bring home homework or do whatever. And he's like, "What are you reading? Or what are you doing? Or this, that, or the other." Or if I had questions to ask, you know, he'd be like, "Well, holy hell, they're not teaching you how to do this, this, and this." Well, no. Well, you do this, this, and this. And it's, oh, okay, cool. And, they were never really at odds with the teacher, but they were there to kind of fill in the spaces that my junior high and high school education left out, you know, for whatever reason. I don't know if it was an agenda or what it was.
I mean,
Excuse me.
it's just how
But yeah.
it might as well just be, just simply because it's like running it's like it's like The Wall, Pink Floyd.
Hmm.
They're running kids through. I hate to say it, and that's not a perfect picture, but in the general sense of it,
Yeah.
you're running people through. It's like going to get your car checked, every year,
Hmm.
inspections or something or whatever. It's like, let's roll them in the next year. All right, here we go. And then, but the problem is that human beings are not a school of fish. You can look at them but they're
Yeah.
individual organisms with varying degrees of intelligence, of
Right.
awareness, of issues, external, internal, just a bunch
Uh,
of. So it's more dynamic than that. There's no other choice, but I
I
guess to
agree.
do that. But
I agree. And that kind of sort of goes back to what I was talking about with the wisdom from somebody older than you, because we can't really we can't blame the schools for not teaching X, Y, and Z. And we can't blame the parents for not teaching them A, B, and C when the parents are a product of the same X, Y, and Z school system. And nobody's telling them, because it's not there is no definite timeline where it was good up to here. It's been a gradual thing. Priorities change, things shift. you know um there are, in this valley, they don't teach driver's education anymore in high school. When I grew up down in California, you had to take driver's education to get a learner's permit. You couldn't get away from it. It was required. When we moved up here, I had my driver's license, but I knew people in high school who didn't. It was required that you have driver's education to get your learner's permit, to get your driver's license. Not anymore. It's not required. And so the schools cut it. They don't teach driver's ed anymore. It's up to the parents to do. Well, if half of the parents don't know how to drive, how are they supposed to teach their kids how to drive?
yeah,
So, it's little independent things like that. Well, I can always get a ride. Well, maybe not always. And what about self-responsibility? It's your responsibility to get yourself to where you got to be on time. It's not anybody else's. So, you're either in for a lot of walking, or you're going to knuckle down, buckle down, learn the book and get your permit, where you could have had it done in school. I mean, I don't know. That's just me, but we're not teaching independent things like that anymore. You're
I, I,
absolutely right about that.
I don't think
But
we've been doing it for a long while.
and that's where family is important, I think, personally. And I know my grandkids, they roll their eyes when I talk about this, that, and the other, but I see that they're kind of using some of it, and they're kind of realizing some of it. So, I mean, it scares the crap out of me to think that I've got somebody that looks at me even remotely in the esteem I held my grandfather in, as some sort of wise teacher or something like that, because I know what I'm like. And that just makes me have to step back and wonder, did my grandfather ever feel the same way?
It
When
has to
I'm,
be, dude.
when
It
I'm
has to be.
talking to him about, oh heck, I don't know, anything from splitting wood to shingling a house. I mean, does this kid really honestly think that I'm the final arbiter of what's wrong, and what's right on how to wire up a switch?
But let me let
You
me
know,
let me add this to that. Take that you just said, that I agree with, and shift it over to, I don't know,
hmm
local politicians, or
yeah,
shift it over to whatever industry,
hmm
or it's just a series of human beings
hmm
that have exponentially throughout their life grown into this knowledge. They had their doubts and this and that, and one shift of erroneous sort of
hmm
way of thinking or procedure, and you've screwed up a whole you know industry, discipline, whatever.
yeah,
It's just, so we are all on in that same boat,
sure, but it's just that some of us realize it.
and that's another thing.
You know,
So without realizing it, if you don't have that, oh boy, if you
I
don't realize, if you honestly, as a person, think you've got it all under control in this. And by the way, there might be an exception, someone that wakes in the morning and goes like this,
Sure.
like straight up like that. And I know everything and I shall proceed because I've got everything calculated. And if that exists, okay, but let's put that guy to the side for half a
Mhm.
second. Um, if people don't realize what they don't,
Right.
they don't, the grasp of things and the, you know, then boy, that's, and you know what? A lot of people don't.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. A lot of people don't. But we talked a few minutes ago, or I talked a few minutes ago about Steve Jobs and Elon Musk not actually turning the wrenches. They did have the ideas, but those ideas were reasonable. They were reachable. Neither one of them ever said, I want my desk to hover a foot off the ground with no noise. They always envisioned something that was, maybe it was pushing a limit, and teams of people actually had to sit down and invent stuff to do. But he knew it was possible. He knew there was a way to do it. He didn't ask for the impossible. He just asked them to push, Musk and Jobs and other people in similar situations. It was doable. They knew it was doable. They never asked for the unreasonable, but they did ask people to work. So that in and of itself is a level of intelligence.
And
So,
and within that, the because here's the thing, like I know that there are um disciplines such as machining,
mhm,
and engineers
mhm,
where things are planned, sketched out,
mhm,
measured, and then produced that are complicated, you know what I'm saying, put together. I'm aware of this whole universe of things that have actually helped us immensely in life because there
mhm.
are things like, I mean, you could just look under the hood of your car, just anything.
Yeah.
Um, refrigerators, this it just it goes on. And
Mhm,
these were human beings that did it.
yeah.
Building upon, I mean, there are exceptional people, but I would assume that these people are quite focused in one thing. Like they have their focal point in life, and that endeavor, like let's say the first guy that built, I don't know, the frickin' mechanical, like the clock or just
Mhm.
anything. These people were focused on that little by little, and other people grab that discipline, and it's an amazing.
And refined it. Yeah.
Yeah, humans are. It's an amazing thing. Human beings are an amazing thing. But anytime I hear people like say like on YouTube and stuff and some sort of documentary or newscast or whatever the heck,
Mhm,
they'll say like, yeah, because we humans, we did this, we did that. Oh, hold on, yeah, you
mhm.
humans, but not you, buddy.
Yeah.
Like you're just a guy, but in the aggregate, like the whole,
Mhm.
there's a difference there.
Right. But and also you have to remember that certain things are experimental as well. You're not always going to succeed. I mean, look at the people when they're talking about like the nuclear testing that they were doing in the 40s. And they had soldiers down in trenches and everything else, all duck and cover and everything, and boom, a small nuke would go off,
That was crazy.
a few miles away, but a nuke nonetheless. And then all of a sudden, these people start coming down with various forms of cancer and this, that, and the other. We have the luxury of 2020 hindsight to be able to stand there and go, how could they have not known? Well, it's very easy because nobody knew. They didn't know. The reason we know now is because they didn't, you know.
Right. Exactly.
So it's you're 100% correct. It's all building upon experience. We stand on the shoulders of giants. I mean, it's all building on the experiences of the people that have come and gone before us. So, you know, and if that means I got to use self checkout, I guess, I got to use self checkout,
That's right. If I've got to
but I
sit
don't have to
and
like it. Oh,
well,
and as a side note, I did ask the Walmart manager down here when I was going to get my W-2s for checking out my own groceries.
oh yeah,
He kind of gave me the polite dismissive laugh, and
yeah.
I said, tell me honest, am I the 300th person to say that today? He says, nah, double that. I said, okay.
That happened to me over the weekend. I went to Publix and I told the cashier some, I don't know what it is exactly, but something or other that I thought was super clever. But I saw her smile politely,
Hmm.
and I automatically said, "Be honest with me. How many people have told you that today? Not let alone this
Uh-huh.
week." She says, "Oh, plenty." I
Yeah,
said, "I
exactly.
thought," and I told her, "I thought I was so clever." But see, at least I save face by
Mhm.
recognizing that I
Yeah,
realize, you
yeah.
know,
And we always think we're so clever and we're the first one to come up with it.
yeah,
You know, I have
it's so
never
funny.
been called Marky Mark before. No, yeah, how original. You're the first one that's ever said that, you know. Jeez. Well, anyway.
So, we do have a website. It's called Trampled Underfoot Podcast.com.
That's
And
right.
we have back episodes, on there. If you want to check out our back episodes, go over to trampledunderfootpodcast.com and you can check out the Wayback Machine tab. And we have a series of episodes there, which are pretty awesome. But we also have a Facebook page, which is Trampled Underfoot Podcast on Facebook. And you could leave us questions, comments, let us know how we're doing. If you have any ideas of, topics we could hit upon, let us know. We are open to suggestions, obviously.
That
And we also have what?
we have YouTube as well. But yes, you're right about Facebook. There's a post pinned to the very top of the page that says, Speak your mind. We want to hear your questions, your comments, your suggestions. Whatever you got for us, lay it on us. Give us a thumbs up. And, we're grown ups. We can handle it for the most part. I mean, unless you want money, in which case you'll be ignored in the order in which you received. TrampledUnderfootPodcast.com, by the way, is sponsored by Steve Nealon over at Harneal Media, webmaster, web designer to the stars. Go over and check him out at harnealmedia.com, Harneal. But you'll find all that information over on our website, trampledunderfootpodcast.com. And if that's not enough for you, hit us up here on YouTube. We record these episodes usually Tuesday nights at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. Head on over to the YouTubes and look for the Trampled Underfoot podcast on YouTube.
That's right. Um, I think we've done a good job. And I mean, listen to me say we've done a good job, huh?
We always do a good job. And what we don't do here, editing will take care of.
All right, guys, we'll catch you next time. Thanks for hanging with us on this episode.
Yeah.
Enjoy your week.
Yep. Thank you very much for hitting us up here on a weird night like Sunday night. Have a good one, y'all.